Now, let's discuss what are sensible and essential ideas. When I say we're going to discuss here the difference between sensible at essential ideas. Again, ang essential and sensible ideas were created because of our ideas and its ability to abstract thoughts. So, meron tayong process of abstraction. And then from the process of abstraction, we are able to separate those ideas that are sensible and those ideas that are essential. For sensible ideas, we have to remember things that are concrete or concrete ideas. For essential, these are mental ideas. Okay? When I say concrete ideas, these are ideas that can be validated using our five senses. Whereas for the essential, you cannot easily validate these things using your five senses. Okay, now let's examine this slide. In this slide, we encounter different words. Ang tanong, alin dito sa mga words na to ang sensible or essential? Vehicles tayo, for example. Can we consider vehicles as example of essential or sensible ideas? Okay, pag sinabi nating sensible, these are concrete ideas that can be experienced or validated by our five senses. Vehicles, can we perceive vehicles using our five senses? Okay, what are our five senses? Our sense of hearing, sense of sight, sense of smell, sense of touch, and sense of taste. Now, pwede mo ba akong bigyan ng, if I tell you for instance to bring in class tomorrow sa classroom, magdala kayo ng vehicle, mabibigyan nyo ba ako ng vehicle? Hindi. So ibig sabihin, if you cannot provide me a vehicle, this is an example of an essential idea. When I say essential, this is a mental idea. Now the reason why I said hindi, you cannot give me a vehicle, ang mabibigay mo sa akin is an example of a car, pwedeng car, or a bike. Ang tanong, ang bike ba? Punta muna tayo sa car. Ang car ba, if I ask you to give me or at least bring in class tomorrow a vehicle, mabibigyan nyo ba ako ng vehicle? Ang sabi ko kanina, no, you cannot give me or present in class a vehicle. What you can present in class tomorrow possibly is you can give me a car. So, ibig sabihin, hindi mo ako mabibigyan ng vehicle. Ang mabibigay mo sa akin ay car. Ang tanong ngayon, ang car ba can be considered as a sensible idea or an essential idea? Still, a car can be considered as an essential idea. So, ibig sabihin, hindi mo to kayang ma-perceive using your five senses. So, ibig sabihin, it's not a concrete idea. Ang mabibigay mo sa akin is either you can give me a private car or a transporter. Kung private car mabibigay mo sa akin, still it's an essential idea. Ang mabibigay mo sa akin is either a sports car, pwedeng sedan, pwedeng hatchback, pwedeng limousine. So it's still an essential idea. Ang mabibigay mo sa akin are these concrete and specific ideas. Pwedeng Lotus, pwedeng Ferrari, pwedeng Toyota, pwedeng Mitsubishi, pero it's still an essential idea. Ang mabibigay mo sa akin hanggang so on and so forth, hanggang sa maging specific ka sa akin. So in other words, when I say sensible, these are specific, concrete idea. So dalian natin. For instance, between vehicle and bike, alin ang mas essential? Okay, if for instance sa exam, alin dito ang mas essential? When I say essential, these are your general ideas. General ideas that cannot easily be perceived by your senses. Kasi, pag sinabi kong bigyan mo ko ng vehicle, between vehicle and bike, ang mabibigay mo sa akin hindi vehicle, kundi bike. Okay, when I say bike, dalawa pa yan. It's either a bicycle or a motorbike. So, ibig sabihin, hindi mo ako mabibigyan ng more specific idea other than going to a more particular kind or example of that general idea. Ang bicycle is still an essential idea or a general idea kasi it's either you can give me a mountain bike or a BMX bike. So between the vehicle, ang ibibigay mo sa akin which is an essential idea, or this one which is particular, ang mas particular, ang mas mapaperceive ng senses mo is the BMX or the mountain bike. Not the bike itself, not the bicycle itself, not the bike itself, not the vehicle itself, but the specific and more concrete mountain bike or BMX bike. Okay, ulitin ko. Ang other term for essential is general idea or the mental idea. Ang other term for sensible is concrete or particular idea. So between vehicle, na assignment ko sa inyo bukas, for example, na dali nyo sa klase, between vehicle at saka BMX, alin dito ang mas concrete? Obviously, ang mas concrete is the BMX. Kasi still BMX is a vehicle, but you cannot give me the object itself na vehicle that can be perceived by the five senses. Ang mabibigay mo sa akin hindi vehicle kundi yung BMX, which can be validated using your five senses. Kasi I can using my sense of hearing, smell, sight, touch, and taste, I can validate more this BMX. Kasi itong vehicle, using your five senses, hindi mo siya kayang ma-validate you without going to the most particular object, which is the BMX. Okay, same thing with this one. Ang Ferrari, may magbabranch out pa yan ng mas particular. Pero I'm just going to give you options. Tingnan nyo na lang dun sa options kung alin ang mas particular, alin ang mas general. Ulitin ko, ang keyword for sensible tsaka essential idea. Sensible is particular or specific. That's why it's considered as concrete. Now, the reason why it's concrete or particular or specific, it's because it can easily be validated and experienced by our five senses. Whereas for the essential, it cannot be easily be perceived by our five senses or validated by our five senses kasi it's just a general idea. Okay? Same thing for instance with for example, gamitan natin ng another example. Pag sinabi kong fruit, can you give me a fruit tomorrow? For instance, can you present in class a fruit? Hindi mo mabibigay sa akin yung fruit. Ang mabibigay mo sa akin is either it's a banana, it's an apple, it's an orange. Okay, so ibig sabihin, between banana and then the fruit, which one is your essential idea or the subjective? Subjective, ibig sabihin nito, it's relative to the creation of the mind. Gawa-gawa lang yan ng utak natin in order for the mind to easily understand the object. Okay, para mas lalo nating maintindihan na yung banana, yung apple, tsaka orange belong under the same category which is a fruit. That's why the mind is able to create the secondary quality which is the fruit. Okay, ulitin ko. The fruit is under the idea of abstraction. The fruit cannot be easily be perceived using your five senses. Okay, why? Kasi ang mabibigay mo sa akin is not the fruit but the sensible idea or the primary quality of the object, which is the banana, the apple, or the orange. Okay, pag sinabi kong bigay mo ako ng fruit, hindi mo sa akin mabibigay ang fruit. Ang mabibigay mo sa akin yung classification ng fruit, yung example ng fruit. Okay, ibig sabihin, between the fruit and then the banana, which one is your essential idea? The one essential idea here is your fruit, and yung banana is your sensible idea kasi it can be easily be perceived using your five senses. Kasi ang banana, sense of sight, it's color yellow. Sense of taste, it's sweet. Sense of touch, it's long. Compared with the other fruit, which is the apple, I can easily make distinctions using my senses dun sa sensible ideas. Okay? Ang essential ideas, subjective. Pag sinabi nating subjective, it's created by the own self. It's relative. It's secondary qualities. Bakit siya secondary qualities? Kasi mas nauna yung qualities ng object. It's already inherent dun sa pagiging banana niya. Bago pa man nag-exist ang tao sa mundo, yung properties ng pagiging banana niya, which is yellow, which is long, which is sweet, nandun na. Kaya siya primary qualities. It's subjective. Ibig sabihin, yung primary qualities for instance ng sky, ng pagiging blue niya, or ng cloud ng pagiging white niya, it's already there before the existence of our mind, before the existence of our selves. Now, the reason why the sky is blue, why the clouds is white, is because of the secondary qualities. Ano yung secondary qualities? Yung qualities na inassign natin dun sa object na yun. Ano yun? Yung pagiging white niya, yung pagiging blue niya. So, itong mga letters na to, ito yung mga words na to na kinreate ng utak ko na secondary qualities lang dun sa object mismo. Okay, so ibig sabihin, ito yung words na gawa-gawa ng tao para mas lalo niyang maintindihan yung mundo. Kasi without these qualities, it's very hard for an individual thinking self to describe the object that was experienced by the man. Kasi magiging magiging, let's say may na-experience ako na kuwan. Okay, yung word na kuwan kasi hindi pa naman siya identified na fixed word. May na-experience ako na kuwan. Lasang kuwan. Yung kuwan na yun parang kuwan na kuwan. So medyo general, medyo hindi siya kayang ma-perceive by our thoughts without assigning qualities. That's why our thoughts assign qualities for it to be easily be perceived by others and ourselves as well. Kasi pag sinabi mo yung cloud as a cloud, which is white, mas madaling maintindihan. Right? Again, when I say secondary qualities, these are subjective, these are essential. So when I say essential, again, para mas madali nating maintindihan, sino mas nauna, ang tao o yung mga bagay sa mundo? In this particular case, let's just assume na mas nauna yung mga bagay sa mundo. Yung thinking individual here is the subject. Okay, subject, andun yung letter S, subject, tapos subjective, ibig sabihin mental. Pag sinabi nating mental, madali lang naman maalala yan, madaling matandaan kasi in contrast with the word sensible, andun na yung word na senses. So, ang senses, in contrast with the essential, ang essential is mental. So, mental, ibig sabihin ng mental, this is subjective. Pag subjective siya, secondary kasi mas nauna yung katangian ng mga bagay sa mundo bago pa man naisip ng tao. So, secondary qualities, this is subjective, essential. Example for that is smooth, brown, hard, smell of varnish. So, these are terms created by man himself for him to easily understand his experiences. So, primary qualities, objective. So, describing the object as it is. These are sensible. So, sensible, madaling ma-perceive, madaling ma-validate ng senses natin. So, wag niyong kalimutan dito yung example na binigay ko, yung fruit. Fruit is essential kasi ang fruit, hindi mo siya ma-validate ng senses natin without providing the examples like banana, apple, and then the orange. So, banana, anong qualities merong inherent dun sa banana? Anong qualities merong inherent dun sa apple? Anong qualities meron dun sa orange? Ang banana is yellow, ang apple is red, ang orange is orange. So, those words are created. Ang reference natin dito is, can my senses perceive it? If my senses can perceive it, these are sensible. If these are concrete, if these are particular, these objects, these qualities are sensible. Okay, kung hindi siya particular, essential siya. Essential is general, sensible is particular. Okay, those are keywords that we have to remember in order for us to distinguish the difference between essential and then sensible. So, subjective or secondary qualities, these are essential qualities. Relative, subjective, wherein our mind is able to has the capacity to name and label objects. So, thing itself or as it is, describing objects as it is, this is sensible. These are your primary qualities. So, when I say, you are the apple of my eye, am I pertaining about the essential idea or about the sensible idea? Ikaw yung mansanas ng mata ko sa Tagalog. So when I say you are the apple of my eye, am I referring to the fruit or am I referring to a specific analogy? So pag sinabi kong you are the apple of my eye here, am I being essential? Am I being mental? Or am I being sensible? Am I being particular? So pag sinabi kong sensible to, this is particular, ibig sabihin nalalasahan ko. Sensible. So pag sinabi kong ikaw yung mansanas ng mata ko, ikaw yung prutas na tinutukoy ko dito. So pwede kitang kainin, pwede kitang tikman. Yun ba ang ibig sabihin ng statement na to? So kung hindi yun ang ibig sabihin ng statement na to, tingnan natin ngayon yung essential. Ito yung mental. So when I say mental, ito yung qualities na nag-e-exist lang sa utak ko. Subjective. So ibig sabihin, you are the apple of my eye. Ibig sabihin nun, I'm referring the apple here as an analogy. I cannot technically eat you because you're not a fruit, but you have qualities similar to the fruit na apple. So in this case, this is not sensible kasi hindi ko naman kayang hiwain ka as the apple na fruit. Hindi ko naman kayang tikman ka, na hindi ko naman kayang nguyain ka. So ibig sabihin, hindi ko pwedeng masabi na sensible yung apple here kasi hindi ko kayang i-associate yung you to the fruit. So in this case, since apple is not sensible, this becomes essential. Yung apple here, you are the apple of my eye here, becomes essential. Right? Kasi hindi ito yung technical na fruit na tinutukoy ko. I'm just making analogies kasi may mga properties ka na existing lang sa akin. That's why I'm being subjective. Kasi pag sinabi ko, for instance, that you are the apple of my eye, tapos sinabi nung kaibigan ko na you are the apple of my eye din, iba yung properties na meron sa utak ko dun sa properties na meron dun sa kaibigan ko na pagtingin niya sa iyo. Okay, for instance, ako to, tapos ito yung kaibigan ko, parehas namin sa daming you are the apple of my eye. For example, ikaw to, you are the apple of my eye. Ako. Tapos sinabi rin ng kaibigan ko, you are the apple of my eye. Iba yung qualities na nakikita ko sa'yo, iba rin yung qualities na nakita ng kaibigan ko sa'yo. That's why we are, in this case, we are being subjective. Hindi ka prutas, kasi ang pag sinabi kong prutas, yun nga, kailangan ko ma-validate yung senses ko. Ibig sabihin nun, dapat magiging technical ako, kakainin kita, titikman kita, ngunguyain kita. Hindi yun yung ibig sabihin ng statement na to. So again, in this case, this is not an example of sensible idea, but this is an example of an essential idea. You are the apple of my eye. Now, let's go to hallucinations and then delusions. Now, why do I have to discuss the difference between hallucinations and delusions? Now, the reason why we have to discuss this one is because there are instances wherein our ideas can experience problems. If our ideas can experience problems like hearing voices, ay halimbawa, ikaw lang yung tao mag-isa sa banyo, may naririnig kang boses pero wala naman tao, mayroong problema sa ideas mo. Kasi you'll be having a hard time to distinguish which one is real or which one is not real. Kung ikaw lang ang tao sa banyo, tas bigla ka may nakitang another person, tas biglang nawala, magkakaroon ka ngayon ng problems with the ideas kasi it's very hard for you again to distinguish kung anong totoo sa hindi. Tapos magkakaroon na ngayon ng distortion sa sensory perceptions mo. Pagkakatiwalaan mo pa ba ang sensory perceptions mo na makaalam ng katotohanan sa mundo, ng truth about the world, if your perceptions tend to deceive you? Kasi kanina may nakita akong tao dito na may bumubulong, tapos ngayon biglang wala na. Okay, we call that hallucinations. So hallucinations, we are experiencing problem with our sensory perceptions. So kung halimbawa ikaw to, ang tingin mo sa salamin ay ito, you are experiencing a problem with your sensory perception. Ang tanong ngayon, is this an example of hallucination or delusion? So let's check the next slide. So when I say hallucination, it's a perception in the absence of apparent stimulus that has qualities of real perception. So ibig sabihin, if my perceptions are still intact, ibig sabihin hindi pa siya nagkakaroon ng problema. Ang makikita ko sa salamin ay kung ano yung nakikita ko sa realidad. Ibig sabihin merong malaking tiyan at walang muscles. This is an apparent means obvious. This is an obvious stimulus that I experience using my perception. Pero since may problema nga, nagkakaroon ng absence of obvious stimulus. So when I say stimulus, ito yung reaction ng perceptions ko sa objective reality. So pag may naamoy akong amoy ulam na beef steak, or for example, naamoy ko yung burger ng Jollibee, nagkakaroon ngayon ng apparent or obvious stimulation. So ibig sabihin kailangan mag-react ng sense of smell ko. Kasi nai-stimulate yung sense of smell ko dun sa amoy ng burger ng Jollibee. Pero kung wala namang Jollibee dun, halimbawa sa FX, may naamoy akong amoy ng burger ng Jollibee, wala naman kumakain ng Jollibee, may problema ngayon sa perception ko. Am I experiencing hallucination or delusion? That has the qualities of real perception kasi alam kong amoy ng Jollibee yun, burger ng Jollibee. So in this case, ang tanong, am I experiencing hallucination or delusion? So let's check what's the difference between hallucination and then delusion. Again, ang keyword natin in this slide, we have to distinguish the difference between hallucination and delusion. Again, ang keyword for hallucination, may problema sa sensory perception ko. Anong problema sa sensory perception ko? Hindi ko ma-distinguish kung totoo tong na-experience ko o hindi. Okay, tandaan natin itong image na to, si Homer Simpson, or yung burger sa loob ng UV Express or ng FX. May naamoy akong burger ng Jollibee pero wala naman. Na-stimulate yung sense of hearing, yung sense of smell ko. That's why my mind tend to create the image of the burger Jollibee. Okay, that's the problem with hallucination. Now, ang tanong, ang hallucination ba ay kaparehas ng delusion? Now, let's check this image. Ang hallucination is yung sensory perceptions mo distorted. Wala namang stimuli. Ibig sabihin, wala namang burger, may naamoy ka. That's hallucination. Ang illusion, compared with hallucination, misinterpretation. Nagkakaroon lang ng misinterpretation dun sa stimuli, dun sa amoy burger, dun sa amoy burger na naamoy mo sa loob ng UV Express. Alam mo, sabi ng utak mo na naaamoy mo dun sa loob ng UV Express or FX is the burger of Jollibee. Pero ang naamoy mo lang pala yung t-shirt ng katabi mo dun sa UV Express. So ang tawag dun is illusion. Kasi napatunayan mo na hindi pala burger kundi t-shirt. Same thing with this image. Napatunayan niya na hindi pala mamamatay tao kundi isang regular person. Malamang kaibigan niya. That's illusion. Now for delusion, ang delusion, ang keyword natin doon is belief. Okay, so ibig sabihin, merong hallucination, merong illusion, at naniniwala ka na yung mga na-experience mo na hallucination at illusion ay totoo. Ibig sabihin, firm yung belief mo, fix na yung paniniwala mo na yung na-experience mong hallucination, hindi ka naniniwala na hindi siya hallucination, hindi ka naniniwala na illusion yun. Naniniwala ka ngayon na yung mga na-experience mo ay totoo na talaga. Kaya ang example natin dito, yes, I am Cleopatra. Okay? So ang keyword natin for delusion is belief. Naniniwala ka na yung mga hallucination at illusion na na-experience mo ay totoo. For hallucination, immediate experience na baka temporary lang, na distorted yung perceptions ko. May nakita akong for instance, may nakita akong puti sa dilim, nagkaroon ka ng conclusion, it might be a ghost or it might be a white lady. Temporary lang yun, naniniwala ka. Pero kasi pagdating sa delusion, permanent na to. Naniniwala ako na nakita ako ng white lady sa dilim parate. that becomes delusion. For hallucination, it becomes temporary only. So that's the difference between hallucination and then delusion. Now, delusion, false beliefs with no basis in reality. Ang keyword natin for delusion, naniniwala ka na to the point na nagiging permanent na siya. So there are 5 types of delusions that we're going to discuss. Paranoia, grandiose, religious, somatic, and then referential. Now, ano itong mga 5 delusions na to? Now, let's check. This type of delusion can be found in themes of spiritual persecution by malevolent spirit entities. So, ang keyword here is something that's spiritual. Okay, something that's spiritual. So, anything that's not physical has an influence in your thoughts to the point na naniniwala ka na pag, for example, pag ginawa ko to tuwing mahal na araw, ay mapapatawad lahat ng kasalanan ko ng isang spiritual na entity. Okay, this is an example of religious delusion kasi wala ka namang malinaw na ebidensya na napatawad talaga yung kasalanan mo. Okay, so anything connected with the spiritual realm or spiritual world na kung saan naniniwala ka, firm yung belief mo na merong impluensya to sa tunay mong buhay, that becomes your religious delusion. So, in this case, delusional experience of sin and guilt, preoccupation with the religious subjects, religious again, something spiritual, that are not within the expected beliefs for an individual's background in culture and their education. Again, ang keyword natin dito, anything na spiritual, merong impluensya sa buhay mo at naniniwala ka, firming belief mo na may impluensya to at kaya baguhin yung buhay mo. Example, pag may nakikita ka na connected with the spiritual world, for let's say cross, tapos biglang nangingilabot ka, biglang sumasakit yung biglang nahihilo ka, again, ang belief mo is because of the religious delusion. Ito yun. Kasi without this one, hindi naman sasakit yung ulo mo, hindi ka biglang sisigaw, or hindi ka biglang lalakas. So this is a religious delusion kasi this object is connected with the spiritual realm. Next delusion, ito yung delusion na kung saan meron kang paniniwala na meron kang sakit. Ibig sabihin nun yung physiological is yung normal function ng sistema ng katawan mo. Once bodily functioning, that's physiological. Ay not functioning well. So, ibig sabihin, naniniwala ka for instance, masakit yung ulo mo, masakit yung tiyan mo, merong gagambang lumalabas sa ilong mo, pero in reality, wala naman. So, ibig sabihin, yung katawan mo, as a whole, as a system, hindi nagpo-function. Yung keyword natin dito, yung katawan, hindi na nagpo-function. Pag yung katawan mo hindi nagpo-function ng normal, grossly, ibig sabihin, as a whole, nagkakaroon ka ng delusion. Okay, pakiramdam mo, for example, may hindi mo kayang pumasok sa school ngayon kasi pakiramdam mo lalagnatin ka. This is an example of delusion without any basis sa reality. Ang tawag dito is somatic, thinking that your body is diseased in some way pero wala namang malinaw na batayan. Sometimes these delusions include things like the idea that one's body is completely infested with parasites. So again, ang keyword natin under this delusion is our bodily function is not functioning well. So, somatic delusion, ang tawag dito. Again, ang unang diniscuss natin, the religious delusion, ang keyword is spiritual realm. Second is somatic delusion, yung katawan natin hindi nag-function ng normal. Ang next natin is yung belief na may threat, delusions of persecution. Ang tawag dito is paranoia. Sa Tagalog, nagiging praning ka, naging suspicious of something na may threat, may danger na paparating. Example, Mr. Y believes that staff only wear red jumpers when they intend to hurt him. So, ang keyword hurt him, sasaktan siya and cannot be convinced otherwise despite all the evidence and explanations put to him. So, this is paranoia or pagiging paranoid. Sa Tagalog, praning or suspicious. Halimbawa, pumunta ka sa bahay ng ex mo tapos pinainom ka, hindi mo ininom yun kasi you have this belief na baka lalasunin ka or baka ang threat na baka gayumahin ka. So ang keyword natin merong belief of threat. That's paranoia. First is religious, spiritual. Second is somatic, yung katawan. Third is paranoia, yung threat. Next, delusion. Naniniwala ka na engrande ka, kaya siya grandiose delusion. So you have this kind of firm belief that you are superb, you are famous, powerful, intelligent, at saka mayaman. Pero in reality, ito lang yung appearance mo. Sorry, this is not grandiose, this is grandiose. Kasi in reality, you are not powerful, pero ang tingin mo sa reality, ito. So same thing here. So ibig sabihin, yung pinakita kong image kanina kay Homer Simpson, that's an example of grandiose delusion. So kung pakiramdam mo ikaw yung campus crush ng binil, that's an example of delusion. Ang tawag doon is grandiose delusion. O grandiose, nandun na yung sagot mismo, tingin mo sa sarili mo, yung grande parate. Right? So that's the fourth delusion. First is religious, somatic is second, third is paranoia, fourth is grandiose. And then punta tayo dito sa last. Ang last natin is referential. So sa referential, ang keyword natin is the media. May mga ordinary events na naririnig mo sa media. Ordinary events, objects, or behaviors of others have particular and unusual meanings specifically for oneself. So ibig sabihin, yung naririnig mo sa media, for example, yung radio or television, may narinig ka dyan, lahat yan ay patungkol sa'yo. Specifically for yourself. Na kung saan nag-iiba na yung nag-iiba yung behavior mo dahil nga lahat to ay patungkol sa'yo. For example, meron kang pinakinggan sa radyo. Now here's a song just for you. So ibig sabihin, yung song that you heard in the radio is specifically created and made just for you, exclusive for you. So if you have this kind of belief, it becomes referential delusion. Bakit siya referential? Kasi ang reference natin dito is the media, the radio, the TV, the newspaper, the magazine, so any form of media. Ang keyword natin for referential delusions. Okay? So those 5 types of delusions can be experienced by a person who has schizophrenia or schizophrenic. So ano ba yung schizophrenic? Tingnan nyo lang yung mga taong grasa. Ang example niyan, taong grasa. Ito yung mga taong distorted yung thoughts, perceptions, emotions, movements, and then behaviors. Lahat ng mga taong with schizophrenia can experience those 5 types of delusions that we've mentioned a while ago. Sila yung mga taong grasa. And then these persons, ang cause niyan is depression. So paano malalaman depressed ka? Malalaman mong depressed ka if you have thoughts of committing suicide. If you have thoughts of committing suicide, may possibility na ma-distort yung thoughts mo, perceptions mo, emotions mo, movements, and behavior. Kaya yung mga taong grasa sila, ang dahilan kung bakit taong grasa sila is because they have thoughts of committing suicide. Masyado silang na-depress because of some certain events that they experience in life. Right? Now we go to terms.